So for the past two sessions, we have talked about some of the benefits of moving to the cloud, but we've also addressed some of the concerns that may be preventing you from making the move and why now is the right time to make that move.
Right, and we talked about using that great Citrix technology to solve a lot of business problems out of the cloud. But one area we didn't really dig into is business continuity. And as you know, coming out of the pandemic, that's really something that companies had to focus on. They had to dust off those VC plans and really figure out how to scale in the cloud.
Yeah, and one of the ways of doing that is through Desktop as a Service, also known as DaaS. And what DaaS allows you to do is to spin up those resources up quickly and easily and spin them down when you're done using them. And whether that's for an event that may be outside of your control, so COVID-19 is a perfect example, or maybe something less, dramatic, maybe like something weather related, like a hurricane or a storm that may be preventing your users from going into that physical office. We also see it a lot for things that are planned. So think of it like seasonal workers, whether that's interns or for the holidays where you may need more workers that need access to a virtual app or virtual desktop. So DaaS really gives you that agility and that flexibility to be able to spin up resources up and down as needed.
Right, and so to help us understand that more, today we've invited Kireeti Valicheria to really explain DaaS and how it's used for business continuity. Welcome, Kireeti.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Anna, for having me in this session. I'm excited to talk about the DaaS, especially the journey that Citrix has taken over the last couple of years, give you an update on that. And I think, to your point, it's a great way to solve the business continuity use case. We have actually seen many customers during the last 1 year take advantage of this new capability to solve this sudden need for desktops on the cloud to help their employees to be productive during this time. So with that, I will start off by talking about the journey that we have undertaken. So you might be thinking, hey, Citrix DaaS, that's Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Standard for Azure. That was the name that we gave last year. And at a high level, it allows both Windows and Linux desktops to be hosted from the cloud. And the end users can continue to log in using their Citrix Workspace app, using the HDX protocol to get the best in-session experience. And since these desktops might be cloud hosted, we also recognize that customers need the ability to talk to their on-prem resources. And we do make a couple of options available for them to make these desktops talk to their on-prem resources as well, to make it easy to either communicate with their on-prem Active Directory to ensure these desktops are domain joined or access other application data. So when we started the journey, our goal was to really build a new turnkey offering where customers can quickly come and spin up desktops within minutes and deploy it for their end users. Since then, we have added a lot of new capabilities. Obviously, the main thing is this is optimized for Microsoft Azure. Customers can either deploy these desktops in their own Azure or use a Citrix managed capacity, which really makes it the turnkey offering. The other thing is we also introduced flexible billing options, especially for business continuity. People only want to spend when they're actually using it. They don't want to be paying for those resources when they're actually not using it. So this Citrix managed capacity has this pay-as-you-go element to it. So based on the type of machine you pick, how many hours you're using it, we only charge for those elements. The licensing of the base Citrix virtual apps and desktops can continue to be in the existing licensing models that we have. It could be 1 to 5 year terms, or we also now have the ability to you can purchase it in a monthly fashion as well. So if it's the need is a short-term need for a temporary worker situation, you can just buy it on a monthly basis and keep going as well. And obviously, it's approved by Microsoft. It delivers the benefits of Azure Virtual Desktops. And also, it has other capabilities such as remote PC access, which we added during the pandemic because there were a lot of machines that were sitting in the offices that were unutilized. And customers asked us, hey, can you also make the solution support the remote PC access use case so that we can take advantage of those physical machines sitting in the office? So we made that available as well. So a lot of updates to that. But the key thing is, when we started the journey, we actually called it as Citrix Managed Desktops, and then we changed the name to Virtual Apps and Desktop Standard for Azure. You might be wondering, why did we do that? The reason was, when we started the DaaS journey, people really loved the concept, but they were also our existing virtual apps and desktops customers. They already had existing deployments in their on-prem hypervisors, VMware vSphere, Citrix Hypervisor, or Microsoft Hyper-V, or in their own public clouds. But they wanted this quick to spin up desktops in a Citrix managed Azure for that temporary use case or a business continuity scenario that could coexist with their existing deployment. So their ask was really is, hey, can you bring that DaaS element with the Citrix managed Azure to all of Citrix virtual apps and desktops? So that's kind of what we did. So we started by renaming the product as Virtual Apps and Desktop Standard for Azure, which effectively became the base edition that includes the DaaS capabilities. And then earlier this year, we added that Citrix Managed Azure, which is an add-on to all of our Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops editions. So it's available now in not only standard, but also in CVAD Advanced, Premium, CVA Advanced Premium. You can also include it as part of the Workspace Premium Plus as well. So if you're an existing enterprise customer who uses Workspace Premium Plus, and you have this need for a DaaS-like solution, like if you think a DaaS-like solution could really help you accelerate the deployment because of it's a special project that you want to take advantage of this capability, you can just buy this add-on and you can start deploying in the Citrix Managed Azure. So that's kind of what we have done here. So we have kind of updated the story with Virtual Apps and Desktop. So Virtual Apps and Desktop is provides you comprehensive capabilities. It supports on-prem workloads. It supports hybrid multi-cloud. And it supports a wide variety of use cases: remote PC access, Windows server-based workloads, both apps and desktops. It can do multi-session desktops, Linux apps and desktops. Now it has the DaaS-based capability as well.
And I think, Kireeti, this is an important thing to really highlight, right? Because before, maybe a lot of our Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service customers maybe wanted to take advantage of that DaaS solution, but they couldn't because it required separate licensing, separate management, separate everything. And now, by moving to Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service, you get everything, right? You could still have on-premises workloads. You could have those hybrid workloads, those cloud workloads, and then those very DaaS-specific workloads for remote workers, for seasonal workers, for whatever it may be.
Exactly, Anna. I think that's what, when we introduced that, I think it almost became like a choice for the customer, like, do I need CVAD or do I need to have DaaS? And it was creating a conflict. And I think by combining this into one solution, customers love it because it's a single pane of glass where they can deploy all of these use cases with that one solution now. So that's kind of been the main advantage.
So we've simplified the additions, but also the admin experience, you would say. If you have one of those, it's easy to add on the other or DaaS, yeah?
That's right. So they can continue to do what they're doing today. And if they have this special project for the summer, let's say it's a temporary worker scenario, they're hiring 500 contractors and they don't want to deal with procuring capacity or infrastructure, they just prefer to pay Citrix for spinning up those desktops. They could just buy this add-on, run these desktops for 3 months, and once the project is done, they can just wrap it up. So that makes it easy for them. So you might be wondering, okay, can you help me understand how is this deployment differ with all the other deployments that I'm familiar with? So if you look at the traditional model, that's what is the virtual apps and desktop, the on-premises model, you were responsible for obviously procuring the licensing from Citrix, buy hardware yourself, and you had to deploy all of these components yourself. You would download our ISO and then set up delivery controller, storefront, studio, director licensing, SQL database, the gateway, and all of the VDAs and Active. Like you had to do all of this yourself. 2015, we launched Virtual Apps and Desktop Service. And subsequently, we added like the gateway service and the workspace service to kind of make the deployment much simpler. So at the top, this really is almost like a PaaS service that provides the core management capabilities of a VDI solution as a service to you, and you don't have to worry about upgrading those components now because Citrix is taking care of that. And every 2 weeks, we just keep updating it, and you might just get all of the new capabilities that Citrix is introducing. And we also made it easy for you to migrate to this model because your existing workloads could continue to run in your data centers on your existing on-prem hypervisors or in your own public cloud. We added support not only for Azure, we added support for AWS and GCP. So we gave you flexibility. So these, the thing at the bottom, we call it as a resource location. You could have multiple of these connect to the same management plane. They could be in different geographical locations around the world. We also provide you flexibility in terms of the hypervisors or the public cloud as well. This was great for many of our enterprise customers, especially they were looking at modernizing their VDI deployments. So they could come to our PaaS-based management service and then continue to have their existing workloads fully under their control. But for the use cases that you illustrated, either the business continuity or the temporary worker scenario, or there are special use cases like we have seen like non-domain joined workloads and things like that, customers really wanted a turnkey offering where they didn't really want to actually be worried about procuring that hardware capacity. And they really wanted to kind of take advantage of the cloud economics as well, like especially for the temporary worker situation where they're just paying for what they use. So that by adding that Citrix managed Azure, the model really becomes something like this, the third column here, where even the VDAs are now being managed pretty much like by Citrix. We still allow you the flexibility to bring your own image. You can bring your own applications and all of it. What we are really providing you is a managed infrastructure that Citrix is managing on your behalf, and you can bring your own image, and we will use MCS to provision how many ever desktops you need. Auto scale continues to work, so you can optimize your cost for this solution. And then once everything is done, you can spin them down as well. So that's kind of the model here. So Citrix is taking on even more responsibility and in turn simplifying the deployment for you. And since these desktops are running in the cloud, you might be wondering, hey, can I talk to my on-prem resources still? Yes, you can. So we have a couple of options. One is called VNet peering. So we can peer our virtual network to your Azure virtual network and provide connectivity to your resources. Or we also integrate with our own Citrix SD-WAN solution, where we can have an SD-WAN appliance here, which can talk to an SD-WAN appliance here to kind of provide that connectivity as well. So there is flexibility there as well.
I imagine by offloading this to Citrix, Kireeti reduces the time until users can be productive, which is usually of the essence in a business continuity scenario.
Yes, I think some of the examples that we have seen, Matt, has been that customers have deployed non-domain joined desktops, persistent desktops, when they really needed it, and provided a soft VPN client in the cloud. So they could just spin up the desktop in the cloud and use the soft VPN client to connect to their on-prem resources. Or if the customer has been able to set up this SD-WAN or a VNet peering, they have been able to do domain joined desktops in the cloud as well. And for their almost like a DR scenario, some of them actually have turned it off. Like they spin up like let's say a few desktops, and they set up the power management setting to everything to be off. So they're not really paying for the compute, only paying for the storage. And they kind of designed almost the DR procedure to be such that when an event occurs, they would just flip to this environment, and they would just enable auto scale to power on all of these machines, and they will flip these users to it. So those are some of the kind of like examples that we have seen so far.
Makes sense.
So next one is like people also ask me this a lot of times: can I continue to use my storefront or gateway? So in this model, so in the CVAT architecture with the BYO infrastructure, we do allow it. So instead of the gateway service and the workspace service, you can continue to run like your own gateway as well as your own storefront. That's optional here. And it's also available with this DaaS style deployment model as well. The only requirement in this case is because the storefront and the gateway are in your on-prem, we need this connectivity. So we require these VDAs to be domain joined. But if they're domain joined and they can reach the storefront, these DaaS desktops can show up in your existing storefront site as well. So if I look back at the slide, some people get confused. Okay, you're saying DAS is available at Citrix. That's great. But when I look at this diagram, is it like two different solutions? Like, is it like one CVAT site with my own infrastructure and the other CVAT site with these VDAs? That's not the case. Like, these are just like, I'm just showing you how it differs with the various deployment models. Technically, your architecture could look like something like this. Like, you would have one CVAT service site in the cloud, and you could have your VDAs in any of the existing on-prem hypervisors. It could be in your existing, your own public cloud, or you could now use this new Citrix managed Azure as a new resource location. And all of them could coexist with each other simultaneously as well. So now I'll quickly breeze through some of the new capabilities we have launched. Obviously, the Citrix Managed Azure is now available with all editions of CVAT. I talked about it. So the way to access the Citrix Managed Azure is through the quick deploy flow. So this option is now available with every edition of CVAT. And the Citrix Managed Azure, you just buy that as an add-on. It's available with every edition. Once you buy it, you can start taking advantage of the Citrix managed capacity. The actual SKU name, it's called Azure Consumption Fund Add-on. It is, you can start with as little as $1, and once you pay $1, you get access to the feature. And after that, we just meter you, like based on your usage, we meter you, and at the end of each month, we will be billing you for what you're actually using. So that's how it works. And in terms of the CVAT standard for Azure, we are continuing to ramp up. It's benefiting from being part of the CVAT family. So we now have Web Studio in Virtual Apps and Desktop standard for Azure as well. So you can start with quick deploy. But if you want to take advantage of advanced capabilities like policies, restart schedules, and all of that, you can come to Web Studio and continue to apply those on the catalogs that you created using quick deploy. So that's available. The next one is Linux-based images, Citrix prepared images. As you know, we also make it easy for customers to take advantage of pre-created images that we provide, so that you don't have to really create those master images. We had a bunch of those for Windows, but now we actually have it for Ubuntu. We provide both Ubuntu multi-session as well as single session images. Like if you had remembered creating a Linux-based image, the installation guide was 40 pages, like if you had to start off with a Linux VDA. So now we just make it available. You can just go in the UI and select this, and within a couple of clicks, now you can actually start your Linux VDA deployment. So that's another simplification that we are bringing. The monitoring dashboard has been improved, improved as well with the CVAT standard. We give you more capabilities. So we have done like machine utilization, the dashboard capabilities that both advanced and premium, those are also now available. We have also introduced app and desktop probing because in the cloud, reliability of your site is of utmost importance. So we want to give you the tools to make sure that you know that all the components are healthy and you can react if something goes bad quickly as well with the alerts. And on that note, we are very excited. You probably heard that service continuity is now GA. It went GA in June. That also applies for CVAT standard for Azure. In case you're not familiar with service continuity, think of it as a service that we have built for our cloud-based deployments, especially those leveraging workspace. So even if one of the cloud services that we manage go down, or if it could be a third-party cloud service like one of the public cloud that we depend on, if any of those outages impact the CVAT service, the end user would continue to still be able to access their apps and desktops. This is because when you enable this feature, there is a lease that gets generated that gets stored on the end user's device. So when we cannot talk to one of the cloud services, it kind of goes into an outage mode, and then it tries to use the lease, which has all the information for the client to actually establish the connection to the app and desktop that was previously provisioned to the user. So this is now available. So this should give you confidence to move your work, your deployments from on-prem to the cloud. So we hope all of our customers take advantage of it. So with that, here's a list of resources. I'm just going to leave the slide here. So if you want to learn more, you can go to one of these links and find out more information about this new capability. With that, yep, thanks, Matt and Anna. Hope this was useful.
Thanks, Kireeti, for coming on. I think this was very insightful. And if you haven't heard our episode of the Click Down, we actually have an episode where Kireeti and another of our colleagues, Adam Watts, join it to do talk everything about DAS. So be sure to check it out.
Awesome. Thanks, Kireeti.